Picture a gray horizon, where the sea and sky blur into one endless sheet of cold steel. The wind howls through the rigging, waves crash over the bow, and a crew of hardened men grip their oars as their wooden ship rises and falls like a heartbeat. There is no map, no compass, just courage, hunger, and faith in the gods. Long before Columbus ever dreamed of crossing the Atlantic, the Vikings had already done it. They found new lands, green, fertile, and utterly unknown. But their story isn't just one of discovery, it's one of survival, obsession, and mystery. Because even now, we don't fully know why they left, or why they didn't stay. So grab your cloak and your courage. Today, we're diving deep into how the Vikings discovered new worlds before anyone else. The Call of the North. Why they left home. The Viking Age didn't begin because of conquest alone. It began because of need. By the late 700s, Scandinavia was cold, crowded, and hungry. Land was power, and there wasn't enough to go around. Ambitious young men faced a choice: fight your neighbors or sail beyond the edge of the map. The sagas tell of restless spirits who couldn't bear to stay put, farmers who dreamed of richer soil, outlaws who wanted redemption, and kings who saw opportunity in distant shores. Imagine standing on a rocky Norwegian cliff, staring out at the endless sea, knowing that what lies beyond could be either paradise or death. Would you take that chance? The ships that changed history. The secret to Viking exploration wasn't luck. It was engineering genius. The longship was light, flexible, and fast, a masterpiece of wood and iron that could survive the open ocean and slip into shallow rivers. Picture a crew of 30 men rowing in rhythm, their oars cutting through mist. The dragon-headed prow slices through the water like a blade. Beneath the hull, the keel bends with the waves instead of fighting them. They could cover more than 100 miles a day, and with nothing but the stars, the sun, and seabirds to guide them, they crossed distances that seemed impossible. Even modern sailors are baffled at how precise Viking navigation was. Some historians believe they used a sunstone, a crystal that could find the sun's direction even on cloudy days. Others think they followed whale paths, bird migrations, or the smell of seaweed drifting from unseen coasts. Whatever the method, it worked, and it led them to their first great discovery. Iceland, the edge of the known world. Around 860 AD, a Norwegian sailor named Flóki sailed north and west, chasing rumors of new lands beyond the horizon. He brought with him ravens, trained birds he released to find land. The last raven never came back. That's how he knew he'd found it. The island he reached was harsh, volcanic, and raw. Iceland. At first it seemed like the end of the earth itself. Mountains, spitting fire, black sand beaches, boiling springs, and endless snow. But beneath all that danger was rich soil and untamed opportunity. The settlers who followed built farms, temples, and one of the world's first parliaments, the Althing, where free men met to make laws. Iceland became both a refuge and a springboard, a place where the bravest looked west again and wondered, what else is out there? Greenland, the frozen gamble. Enter Erik the Red. Exiled from Iceland for murder, he had nothing left but the sea. So he sailed farther west and found a new land, massive and silent. He called it Greenland, not because it was green, but because he wanted others to follow. People will come if the name sounds good, he reportedly said, and they did. The voyage to Greenland was brutal. Many died on the way, but those who survived carved out a life in one of the harshest environments on Earth. They built farms, churches, and trade posts on the edge of the ice. Erik's son, Leif Erikson, grew up hearing those stories. And for him, Greenland wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Vinland, the land beyond the ocean. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson sailed even farther west. Some say he was blown off course. Others believe he went searching on purpose, following hints from sailors who drifted past unknown coasts. After weeks of endless sea, the lookout spotted land, not barren rock, but forests, rivers, and wild grapes growing on the shore. They called it Vinland, the land of wine. Modern historians believe this place was Newfoundland, Canada, 5 centuries before Columbus set sail. Imagine that first landing, the crunch of leaves under Viking boots, the smell of pine, the silence of a new world untouched by their kind. They built shelters, fished, and explored, but tension grew. Leif's crew clashed with the native peoples they called Skraelings, and their dream of a new colony began to unravel. After a few years, the Vinland settlement was abandoned. No one knows exactly why. Maybe conflict, maybe weather, maybe fear of being too far from home. But one thing is certain. They had done it. The Vikings had crossed an ocean and touched another continent long before anyone else dared. What the sagas remember. The story of Vinland survived not through stone monuments or written logs, but through stories. The Vinland sagas. They speak of Leif the Lucky, of fierce winters, and of encounters with strange people and creatures beyond the Western Sea. For centuries, scholars thought they were myth. Then, in 1960, archaeologists unearthed a Viking settlement at Lance aux Meadows in Newfoundland, proof that the sagas had been right all along. It's a humbling thought. The world's history books had to be rewritten because of stories once told by firelight. Why they never stayed so? Why didn't the Vikings keep exploring? They had the ships, the courage, and the skills. But perhaps the answer lies in the same spirit that drove them there. They weren't conquerors of land. They were conquerors of the journey itself. The North Atlantic was unforgiving, and their small settlements struggled with isolation and supply. For the Vikings, the sea wasn't a barrier. It was home. But even home has its limits. And maybe, after all, Vinland wasn't meant to be tamed. The legacy of the Northmen. When we think of exploration, we picture men with maps and compasses. But centuries before that, Vikings were reading the stars and trusting their instincts. They proved that even in a world of storms and superstition, courage could carry you farther than any empire. And if you've ever looked at a horizon and wondered what's beyond it, maybe you share something with them. Because for the Vikings, discovery wasn't about what they found. It was about having the nerve to leave. So what do you think? Would you have boarded that ship? With no map, no guarantee, and no way back? Drop your answer below and subscribe for more journeys through the strange and fearless corners of history. Because the deeper you dive, the stranger it gets.